Yo, what's going on, guys? And we're going to do the Memphis Grizzlies off-season preview primer, whatever the heck you want to call it. Basically, what we're going to be doing today is talking about the fact that we're going to do a little preview before the off-season actually starts once the lottery hits. And I want to hear right now, before we start, what is your guys' priorities that the Grizzlies need to address, and what should they do? This way you guys can help me out when I make the predictions video in 2 weeks. So let's get right to it. Hit that like and subscribe button. We're on the way to 20,000 subscribers. Go check out my content at hoopshype.com. I'm a reporter for USA Today Sports. Now, the Grizzlies went 25-55, and this reminds me kind of that season. Obviously, I know the Raptors ended up, going a completely different way, but the Raptors, the year they got Scotty Barnes was a gap year because, they were playing, I think, in Tampa, and the whole thing just went to the crap, and it was but they got Scotty Barnes out of it, and they got a really good draft pick. And the Grizzlies are in a similar position. Right now, they have the 7th overall pick. If they stay there, they have a 7.5% chance of getting the number 1 pick. Yuta Watanabe is gone. He's going to play in Japan, as he has a player option. The rumor is he's going to play in Japan. Plus, Japan's having a lot of money, so they're probably going to pay him more money, and he's going to be a superstar. Luke Kennard has a team option. I expect him to pick it up. They have the 39th pick and the 57th second-round pick. Now, Memphis finished with its second fewest wins in the past 16 seasons and missed the playoffs for the first time since 2019 to 2020. Normally, the Grizzlies would probably look at having a rebuild done. And so when I look at this year, I think they're in a position. I mean, they could just trade the pick, but this is a weak draft class, so you might as well just take a flyer. And as you guys know, the Grizzlies currently have 14 players from their current roster under contract next year. The injuries this season have put Memphis in a rare position entering this offseason. The Grizzlies were the 2nd seed for back-to-back seasons, and then now they had one of the worst seasons. The Grizzlies led the league in games missed because of injury and ranked 1st and set an NBA record with 51 different starting lineups. They also set an NBA, well, I don't know if the record's 51, but they did set the record for 33 players signed to contracts in a season because of injuries. Memphis signed 12 players to 10-day hardship exceptions. Basically, they got so many injuries that the NBA granted them hardship exceptions so they can sign 10-day contracts to just heal the team. And now that the Grizzlies will get to add a top 10 pick to a core of Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., and John Moran, I thought, maybe Dalton Knecht is the best guy there. I think they're either going to go Donovan Clingan, Dalton Knecht, Yves Messi. I think maybe, it's hard. It's hard off of that. I mean, if a wing slips down, they could, because I see either them going a wing or a front court player. Those 4 players share the court for 4 possessions, 4% of the team's total possessions. However, they did hold teams to 104.2 points per 100 possessions. Brandon Clark's tore his left Achilles in the first round of last year's playoffs and didn't make a return till March, which was good that we got to see him this year. He only appeared in 6 games. He did shoot 56% from the field and put up 11 points and 5 rebounds. He did look like himself, and it doesn't look like it killed his athleticism. And all the injuries accelerated the development of recent draft picks and two-way players like Santi Aldama, Jake LaRavia, Zaire Williams, Vince Williams Jr. is a god. Gigi Jackson's awesome. They started combined 107 games, and Jackson averaged 17.6 points after the All-Star break and finished 4th among all rookies in points per game, with him scoring, I believe, on the season. He averaged 14.6 points, 4 rebounds. Fantastic. Also, Santi Aldama really got some runs this season, which they've needed. He was a guy post All-Star break, averaged almost 12 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.5 blocks a game. Yes. And as a starter, he averaged, a block and a steal a game, just under 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. It was a really, really cool to see that, because for me, I thought he was a guy that, I really, really, really did enjoy the fact that he was a guy who I think a lot of people were not expecting to be a good player. I think he does, fit more of the vibe of a role player, and that's fine. I think he could be, I think he's a guy who could also be a late bloomer. But Vince Williams is another guy who just absolutely became an animal for them with G.G. Jackson, who became the youngest player to score 40 points in a game. Also, Vince Williams started 33 games, averaged 10 points, and shot 37% for three. Shout out Jackson always for drafting him. The Grizzlies traded Steven Adams, who was out for the season with a knee injury, in a financially driven move where they got, two second round picks, which I think, helps them a lot. The other thing is even after removing Adams, $12.6 million, the team is still projected to be over the $171 million luxury tax threshold in 24 to 25. Memphis has $160.5 million in guaranteed salary, and that does not include Luke Kennard picking up Luke Kennard's $14.8 million team exception or team option, and then that they also have to have a cap hold of $7.5 million for the first round pick, and the Grizzlies have until June 28th to exercise Luke Kennard's option, which becomes fully guaranteed June 29th. Kennard ranked second in three-point percentage this past year, 45% with players 4 or more. Again, I told you guys Gideon Watanabe is going to the B League, and the Grizzlies would trigger the $178.7 million hard cap if they take back more money in a trade than send out. And for them, it starts with evaluating the different options that they have. This is a playoff team. So I've said Dalton Connect's the most ready now player that's more than likely going to be available in their draft range. So adding an $8 million, a rookie contract may not be something that they want. Maybe they trade that pick, but they could attach that first round pick with that $15 million of Luke Kennard and try to turn it into something else and then try to clean it. But they could look at, like I said, and select a player like Donovan Cleaning, because per Clean the Glass, the Grizzlies were outscored by 7.5 points per 100 possessions this season when Jaren Jackson Jr. started at center. And 63 possessions this past season, he spent at 63% of his possessions he spent at power forward in 23-22 when he won, or 22-23 when he won Defensive Player of the Year. But this year he played way more center than power forward out of necessity. And the Grizzlies were actually plus 10.5 points per 100 possessions with Jaren Jackson Jr. in 22-23 at the power forward position. So Memphis is allowed to decline Kennard's team option prior to June 28th and actually extend him to a lower salary. Now, Smart has 2 years left on his deal of $20 million and $21 million, and they could extend him to 3 years, $96 million if they wanted. I don't know. He just played 20 games this year and missed 21 the previous season, so I don't know. And starting on October 1st, Jaren Jackson Jr. can get extended to a 3-year, $106 million season. And if he doesn't sign that extension, he can become Supermax extension eligible if he wins Defensive Player of the Year again or becomes an All-NBA team member. And Santi Aldama, started a career at 35 games, averaged 10.7 points, 5.7 rebounds. And Santi Aldama is a guy that they could extend this offseason, similar to how Denny Avdia got an extension, and then Santi could be a guy who blows up similarly to Denny Avdia. So team needs, besides addressing the center position, they need a backup point guard. And at this point, I don't think there's any good guards. I mean, if Stephen Castle's there, I think Castle's a good guy to go, but Memphis could, certainly stagger minutes and just play smart if they wanted to at that position. But the Grizzlies, like to go through Morant, and they also have, you need to keep up their defense. So for me, the Grizzlies control their own first-round picks over the next 7 years. They also have the right to swap their own 26th first-round pick for the less favorable of Phoenix, Orlando, and Washington. The Grizzlies also have the right to swap the own 2030 first for less favorable of the Suns, Wizards, and Memphis. Has 6 second-round picks available for them. So, they have options. Seriously, they do have options. And again, I could see him going after a guy like Dalton Connect. I could see him going after Isaiah Collier, Rob Dillingham, Stephen Castle. I think who else is on that list? I think 3-point shooting, they might look at a guy like Cam Spencer or somebody in the second round and target him. I really think point guard wise, Stephen Castle is the one that fits the best for them. And if they want a different guy, I'd try to go farther in the back and either try to get like a Jared McCain. I know he's more of a Seth Curry type guy, or a Devin Carter. Yeah, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? But that's it for me. Peace out.